What's up, guys? Golden Knight here. You draw every day with dedication, with consistency, many hours invested, and even so you feel that you are not evolving. You look at your drawings from 6 months ago and realize that they look frighteningly similar to today's. Not identical, of course, but far too close for someone who has practiced so much. The problem is that practicing and practicing correctly are two completely different things. You learn that consistency is the key, that volume matters, that you need to draw every day, and all of that is true, but it is an incomplete truth that can keep you stuck in the same place for years. Because it is not the number of hours that transforms an artist. It is what happens inside those hours. It is the quality of attention you bring to each stroke, each decision, each mistake you make and choose, or not, to see. What this video will do is show you exactly where almost every artist's practice goes wrong, and what you can change today so that each practice session begins to truly move you forward. The mistake of practicing without a specific question in your head. Most artists sit down to draw with a vague intention. They want to improve anatomy, they want to practice perspective, they want to get better at faces. And that intention seems sufficient because it is directed, because it has a theme, because it is not simply scribbling without purpose. But there is an enormous difference between having a theme and having a question. When you sit down with a theme, you produce. When you sit down with a question, you investigate. And these are two completely different modes of operating that separate artists who evolve quickly from artists who stay at the same level for years. A specific question changes everything in the way your brain processes what is in front of it. If you sit down to practice hands, your brain goes into execution mode. You draw hands, you finish, you feel that you did something productive. But if you sit down with the question, why do my hands always look flat even when I know the structure? Your brain goes into investigation mode. You look at references with different eyes. You actively compare what you are seeing with what you are producing. You are not just drawing, you are trying to solve something. And this mental state is where real learning happens, because it forces you to pay attention to the right places. The more you draw, the more your brain automates the process to be efficient. That is good for speed, but terrible for growth, because automating means exactly stopping actively thinking about what you are doing. You begin to draw eyes the way you have always drawn them because it is the way your system already knows, and your brain sees no reason to question it. Without an active question in your head, you are basically running an old program, feeling productive while reinforcing the same limiting patterns as always. The next time you sit down to practice, before putting any stroke on paper, write a question. Not a theme. A real, specific question that you genuinely do not yet know how to answer. It can be simple, it can be technical, it can be about something that frustrated you in the last drawing. What matters is that it exists, because it will function as a compass for the entire session, keeping your attention active and preventing you from slipping into autopilot. And when you begin to practice like this, you start to realize that many of your technical problems are not a lack of practice, they are a lack of observation. And that leads directly to the next mistake. The illusion that you are really looking at the reference. Every artist who uses reference thinks they are looking at it. And technically they are. The eyes pass over the image, the brain registers information, the hand begins to move. But there is a brutal difference between looking and seeing, and that difference is responsible for a huge part of the frustration artists feel when they copy a reference and the result still looks wrong. You looked at the image. You tried to reproduce what was there. And even so the drawing came out different, lifeless. And the immediate conclusion is that you need more practice, when in reality the problem was not execution. It was reading. What happens in most reference sessions is that the artist looks at the entire image, forms a general impression, and begins to draw from that impression. They are not drawing what they see. They are drawing what they believe they saw. And those are two completely different sources of information. The general impression your brain forms is filtered by everything you have already learned, by all the visual symbols you have internalized over the years. So when you think you are drawing a hand from reference, you are often drawing the idea of a hand that already exists in your head with small superficial corrections based on the image. Truly seeing requires an active and specific effort that goes against the brain's natural functioning. Artists who evolve quickly usually have the habit of asking more specific questions about what they are looking at. They are not satisfied with the impression. They investigate the details that the impression hides. There is a simple exercise that exposes this problem immediately. Take a reference, look at it for 30 seconds, close it, and try to draw from memory. Then compare it with the reference. The places where your drawing diverges most radically are the places where you never really looked with enough attention. They are the blind spots of your observation, The parts your brain automatically filled in with assumptions instead of real information. Doing this exercise regularly is uncomfortable, but it is one of the most honest ways to discover exactly where your observation is still superficial. The problem of finishing a bad drawing without understanding why it is bad. You finish a drawing, look at it, feel that something is wrong, and move on to the next one. Sometimes you file that feeling away as, I need to practice more. Sometimes you simply close the sketchbook and open a new page. And that transition feels natural, it feels like part of the process, it even feels healthy because you are being productive, you are continuing, you are not letting frustration paralyze you. But what you are doing in practice is abandoning the most valuable information that session produced. Because a drawing that turned out wrong is a map. And you are throwing that map away every time you move to the next page without reading it. The mistake is not making bad drawings. Bad drawings are inevitable and necessary. The mistake is not extracting the learning that is inside them. And extracting that learning requires a moment of deliberate analysis that most artists skip. When a drawing does not work, there is a specific technical reason for it. It may be proportion, it may be construction, it may be direction of light, it may be a bit of everything. But if you do not stop to identify that reason precisely, your brain has no way of learning to avoid it in the next drawing. You carry the mistake forward without realizing it, and it keeps appearing, in slightly different forms, for months. Error analysis requires that you be specific in a way that is uncomfortable. It is not enough to say, it became disproportionate. You need to ask where exactly the proportion broke, in which relationship between which elements, etc. This level of specificity hurts a little because it requires you to look at your own work with extreme honesty, but it is exactly this specificity that transforms a mistake into learning. A small change in behavior can completely transform the quality of your practice. The lie of, the more, the better, and what volume hides. There is a belief in the artist community that the solution to almost any development problem is volume. Draw more. Do more studies. Complete more pages. And this belief has an apparent logic that makes it difficult to question, because it is true that better artists generally have more accumulated hours of practice. But the idea that more hours automatically produce more growth is a dangerous logical inversion. The hours do not create the skill. The quality of what happens inside the hours creates the skill. And when you use volume as a substitute for that quality, you are not accelerating your development. You are just keeping yourself busy. Volume has a specific psychological function that makes it seductive even when it is not working. It creates the feeling of progress. When you finish a 3-hour session with 20 studies in your sketchbook, you feel that you did something. There is physical evidence of effort. And that feeling is real and legitimate, but it has no direct correlation with how much you learned in those 3 hours. It is completely possible to spend 3 hours drawing and leave the session with the same limiting patterns you brought into it, only more consolidated, because you repeated them 20 times instead of questioning them once. Volume without analysis does not build skill. It builds habit. And habit and skill are different things. What research on deliberate learning shows, and what artists who evolve in an exceptional way demonstrate in practice, is that shorter sessions with full attention produce more growth than long sessions with fragmented attention. Not because quantity does not matter, but because attention is the real resource being invested, and attention has a much smaller limit than time. You can sit in front of the paper for 4 hours. But the window in which your brain is genuinely engaged, making new connections, processing feedback in real time, is significantly smaller. After that window closes, you are basically in automatic mode, and everything you produce in that state reinforces what already exists instead of expanding what is possible. This does not mean drawing less. It means drawing with more awareness of what is happening inside the session. It means recognizing when you have entered autopilot and taking a real break instead of continuing to produce. It means valuing 1 hour of practice with full presence more than 3 hours of mechanical production. And it means accepting that sometimes the most productive session you can have is a short, focused session, where you solve a specific problem with full attention and stop when that attention begins to dissipate. This change in mindset is difficult because it goes against the narrative of sacrifice and volume that artistic culture celebrates. But it is what begins to make the time you invest truly convert into growth. Why you need a practice system and not motivation. There is a pattern that repeats itself in the life of almost every developing artist. Something inspires you, a video, an artist you discover, a drawing that turns out better than expected, and suddenly you are full of energy. You set goals, you build a routine, you begin to practice with intention and presence. And it works. For a few days, maybe for a few weeks, you feel that you have finally found the rhythm. And then motivation weakens, as it always does, because motivation is an emotional state and emotional states are unstable by nature. And when it goes away, the practice goes with it. Motivation is a great spark but a terrible fuel. It gets you moving, but it does not keep you moving because it responds to factors you do not control: your mood, your energy, how much other things in your life are weighing on you, how good or bad you felt about the last drawing you made. Artists who evolve consistently over time are not artists who have found an inexhaustible source of motivation. They are artists who have built systems that function independently of how they are feeling. An efficient practice system has 3 components that work together. The first is structure, knowing in advance when, for how long, and with what focus you are going to practice, so that the decision is already made before the session begins. The second is progression, having clarity about what you are developing now and how that connects with what comes next, so that each session is not an isolated thing but part of a trajectory with direction. The third is record, maintaining some form of documentation of your practice, so that you can look back and see where you were, where you are, and what has changed. These 3 elements together create something that motivation alone never creates: continuity. And continuity is what transforms practice into real development over time. What none of these elements require is that you be excited. They only require that you show up and execute what is already defined. And here is something that artists who have developed consistent systems often report: motivation frequently appears after practice, not before. You begin the session without energy, without inspiration, simply fulfilling what the system determines. And at some point during that session, something clicks, something works, and suddenly you are truly engaged. Waiting for motivation to begin is waiting for something that appears unpredictably. Building a system is creating the conditions for engagement to emerge regularly, even on the days when everything inside you wants to do something else. If this video helped you in any way, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next ones. Thanks so much for watching all the way through. Don't forget to take a look at the description. There are several important links there that can help you even more. See you in the next video.